disruptive.
America that I fought for.
Weird thing to happen. Hello, one and all. Welcome to this edition of Kitz Corner. It's been a fantastic day so far. So the Super Bowl happened, folks. I didn't really watch it. I'll go on record that I couldn't care less about Super Bowl or football in general, but I watched to the point of the coin toss, and that's about it. I didn't even bother watching halftime. That's just how committed I am to the sport of football. But we do have an interesting story about the Super Bowl and the NFL, particularly the commercials, because commercials do say a lot about the sport and who's actually involved in the funding of said sports. Because as you know, with the Super Bowl, a lot of these corporations pay top dollar to feature a 30-second advertisement on the biggest event in their broadcast year, which is the Super Bowl. I think it was like $7 million they had to pay for Super Bowl advertisement this. And, you know, the classic, you know, Doritos and Pepsi and, you know, Ford or Chevrolet or car ad. Like we see all the time, those kind of companies, again, hashing out their regular commercials during the Super Bowl. But there was one in particular that caught people's attention for a different reason. Let's just say that. And this actually caught my eye too on just how low the National Football League could go when it comes to promoting war propaganda. Because we know that the NFL has ties with, obviously, the intelligence community and the military-industrial complex. That explains flyover, having three, you know, God Bless America songs at the beginning, including the national anthem, to falsify patriotism and all that stuff. But there's also this. So this is from Fiorella Isabel, who points out that Israel is bombing Rafah, the last place 1.1 million Palestinians were told by them to take refuge. Meanwhile, Americans wait for a halftime show and a Super Bowl ad they're watching is paid Israeli propaganda. The empire has to fall for anything to change. So this is the advertisement that they showed right before Usher's halftime performance. And it really just shows you how much they are willing to pay top dollar to manipulate your mind on foreign policy. And you just tell me how disturbed this commercial turns into. Take a look.
To all the dads, the funny ones, the silly ones, the strong ones, the adventurous ones. To all the dads held in captivity by Hamas for over 120 days, we vow to bring you home.
So, I don't know if people could see at the bottom here. That was sponsored by the state of Israel. So the Israeli government, the Netanyahu regime, spent $7 million to invest. Instead of investing that money to save the hostages, they're going to spend that money on American football ads to manipulate people that we need to send them more money. You understand how much of a manufactured scam this is? Imagine if this was Ukraine. Imagine if this was Afghanistan. Imagine if this was any other manufactured war that they were trying to use. That, oh, if you got to send more money to this country to save all the dads that are in captivity by the Taliban. You got to send all this money to all the dads in Ukraine that are being slaughtered by Russians. And here you are, the top corrupted nation in the Middle East that is already having a slush fund of trillions of dollars by other nations They're investing their money into propaganda ads. What does that tell you about the effort about saving hostages? That they're willing to spend money on a Super Bowl ad, hoping that football players drunk off their ass are going to give a damn about fathers in Israel instead of actually using that money to stop these supposed terrorist groups that are capturing the Israelis. This is all just an absolute farce, and it's an absolute scam. And we have shown on this channel multiple times now on how much of a scam this is, how Hamas originated, what exactly this conflict really prevails, how this is a genocide, not a war, and the devastation and destruction this is all causing on our tax dollars. And how this is a manufactured geopolitical stunt since day one. That they were using this as a pretext that Israel can continuously invade the Palestinian region, take over their lands, annihilate people, and hijack their resources. Because as RFK Jr. even says, RFK Jr., who's a massive supporter of this, sadly, RFK Jr. says that Israel is like an aircraft carrier. And it is. It's basically a military base of the United States. Because the people of Israel are not happy with this. The people of Israel, let's not forget, before October 7th, because no one wants to mention what happened before October 7th, the people of Israel were retaliating against their own government. They were protesting Netanyahu. They didn't want more war, more genocide on Palestinian children. They didn't want the Palestinians to slaughter more on behalf of Israel. They wanted peace. They wanted negotiations. Netanyahu refused to do so. And then they orchestrated a music event next to the Gaza border and allowed for this to all play out. It was a false flag attack since day one of this orchestration. And now they're using the money that we're sending, our tax dollars, all across the world, sending this money to Israel so that they can buy advertisement. And you want to know what really they're advertising this, what the Super Bowl advertisement is really doing, what the effect of this is? Well, here's what your money is going towards, folks. This is a neighborhood in Gaza. Look at that. Complete obliteration. Just completely annihilating an entire neighborhood. I thought they were supposed to be going after just Hamas. I was told that this is a defensive war. I was told that they're only going after one person. They're going after certain individuals. They're going after Hamas. But we were lied to, folks. Just like how the United States has lied us for decades about their foreign affairs, their interventions, and keep changing the goalposts, Israel does the same thing. Israel starts off by saying that's just about Hamas. Oh, no, we got to go after the Palestinian family. Oh, we got to do this. Oh, we got to go after these schools, these hospitals, these roadways. We got to completely destroy all of Gaza. And we have seen Israeli spokespeople retaliating that we need to eliminate all of Palestine. They don't want a Palestinian nation to exist. It's an apartheid state. They don't want the Palestinian nation and Gaza and the West Bank to form an alliance so they can liberate themselves. That was the whole point of Hamas. Netanyahu created this terrorist organization to go against Palestinians that were trying to liberate themselves from a military occupation. This has all been a scam since day one. And you know what the real nail of the coffin that really puts this to bed, that pops the bubble of any Israeli talking point when it comes to saying that this is for defense? The concert goers are suing the IDF. The concert goers that were caught up in this moment, that were victimized by Hamas coming in by hand gliders and F-150 trucks. They're suing the IDF. They're not blaming Palestine. They're suing Israel for their lack of security, as if they knew that there was going to be a terrorist attack happening on October 7th at this time, and they knew because it was all orchestrated to take effect, so that they can use that as a pretext to further the invasion of Palestine. This was all a manufactured stunt since day one, just like happening with Ukraine, just like Afghanistan, just like Iraq, just like all the 20 plus years of the war on terror. It's all complete lies. And imagine if the Super Bowl ran ads about Syria or Libya or any other invasion and manipulated and lied to you, using your tax dollars to lie to you. How devastating how the fact that Israelis are really just props. It's so ridiculous. It's so malice. It's deeply, deeply disturbing that they're using Israelis as their own props to further their military intentions on taking over Palestine. That is what you're paying for, folks. Complete annihilation of neighborhoods. And the slaughter of millions of people. And that's just in Gaza, folks. Because while they're also doing this in Gaza, they're storming into Lebanon. They're having total occupation of the Egyptian border, which is why when they tell you to evacuate to the south, how you need to go into Egypt, that's all a lie. That's all a lie, because Palestinians then go to the southern border and pretty much wait to be killed. That's pretty much the mantra of the IDF. It's either be killed or wait to be killed. Because that's all they are ordered to do by the Netanyahu kill machine. That's funneling through our tax dollars. That's being lobbied by this blackmailing, disturbing country. Or should I just say really just a settlement? Because they're trying to form a country, but they're not really doing it in a way that would actually formate a country peacefully and respectfully and diplomatically. So here's even the state of Israel posting this on Twitter, saying, "Dear football fans, tonight, whether you're rooting for the Chiefs or the 49ers, remember that there are 136 Israelis being held hostage in Gaza who would give anything to be watching the game with their families. Please keep them in your thoughts and prayers." I didn't realize the state of Israel cared so much about American football fans. A Middle East country in the middle of nowhere cares so deeply and wants to reach out to the average American sports fan. Isn't that so dearing? Isn't that so touching? The state of Israel that is responsible for a lot of war crimes that they have committed, they want to reach out to you. They care about you, and they care about the hostages. Not enough to actually save them themselves or do anything to stop further escalation, but they're willing to reach out to the football fans to say, hey, take more of your money and send it to this corrupted regime. Because your tax dollars are already doing that. All this slush money is already funding this catastrophic damage, this humanitarian disaster, this genocide beyond genocide. But take the time away from your sports bets and bet on this conclusion. So I responded with the NFL brought to you by foreign meddling Israel, AIPAC, and the IDF. And yet they scream Russia. Isn't that just something? Isn't that just the tidbit there? That they know the state of Israel, how much impactful it is on our everyday life. They know that Saudi Arabia has a huge impact on the West and governments within the Western Hemisphere. But yet somehow we scream the most about Russia or China, and they barely make the cut. They barely make the cut. Russia has apparently influenced our elections. Well, they proved that wrong. But we know that APEC has bought every single politician. APEC influences corporations. APEC influences media. We know that the Saudi kingdom influences the energy markets. Why isn't that being called out? Why isn't that a national security threat? That foreign countries that we know are not diplomatic, are not respectful, and have mass amounts of corruption, mass amounts of illegal activity, and mass amounts of skeletons in their closet. Why are they our best pals? But yet countries that are actually thriving, succeeding based on diplomacy, democratic institutions, and real wholesome values are supposed threats. We're threatened by Russia because somehow their nation that's actually thriving better than our economy is a threat to us. But it's because of our malice, misrepresentation, and just foreign influence that's screwing over ourselves. It's just absolutely crazy. But that goes to show you how impactful the NFL, how much they could just hoard themselves out to not only just the CIA and the corporate estate and these conglomerates in general, but now they're just getting occupied by countries. American football being occupied by the Israeli government. That doesn't call for a national security investigation. That's not a threat to our democracy. Like this is it's not a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy. They paid for an advertisement to manipulate the minds of American viewers. That sounds like they would say that China was doing, or Russia was doing, or North Korea was doing. But it's the Israeli government. It's the Saudi Arabian government. And no one says a word. And meanwhile, there are people that are suffering through the Super Bowl. There are people that are suffering while the Israeli government is spending your money on on advertisement to take cheap shots, to manipulate your judgment to think that they're actually saving people. When really they're just advocating for more war. They just want to advocate. They want to reach out and say, give us more money so we can slaughter more people. And who are they really saving at this point? Because they keep changing the goalpost. They keep changing the means of why we're over there. They keep changing the objective. First it was stopping Hamas. Then it's going after the Hamas bases. Now they just keep furthering and furthering and furthering the goalpost. And that's why Israel and America just seem to work it out. It's like mac and cheese. They just seem to be, two peas within the same pod. The same war criminal, mongering, genocidal freakazoid pod.